I mean, I love this book, I have to say. I had read it previously when it was first published, and now I reread it for this occasion. And it's really beautiful. Thank you both. Itamar, I wanted to start with you because this book, when it was published, it won the Prémio LeYa in Portugal, which is a big thing. And I'm very curious about that day when you received the news. So I wanted you to tell us about it, about that day when you picked the phone and Manuel Alegre was on the other. Manuel Alegre is the president of the jurors. So how was that day, and how did it feel for you?
Gabriela sabe porque ela
Well,
também
Gabriela knows that because she won the Premio LeYa herself, the award.
I know the feeling, but it's always different from person to person.
eu acho. A única
It's
coisa
true, it's different. But the only thing that doesn't change is Manuel's phone call. He's a very important poet in the Portuguese language, and he has a deep voice, and he can sometimes scare people who win the prize. But anyway, it was a very special experience, Gabriela. First, because I wrote this book, although I had published two short story books before in Brazil. My books were published, these two first books were published by small publishers. And one of them was a finalist for the Jabuti Award, Prêmio Jabuti. And that was a few days, a week before I received the announcement of the LeYa Award. And Crooked Plow is my first novel. And when I wrote it, I didn't have a publisher yet. And I decided not to send the originals to a publisher. I didn't have an agent back then as well. And I decided to see what were the book awards for unpublished books. And it was a coincidence. I saw the call for proposals for the LeYa Award, Prêmio LeYa. I had heard of it, but I didn't really know the dimension of this award, how big it was. And then I decided to send the originals. And it was curious because when I sent it, now they receive it per email, but back then they didn't receive the originals per email. And I had to mail the originals. And when I came to the post office, it was very expensive to mail the book. And I was in line 1 hour waiting to mail it. The post office was quite crowded on that day. And I was thinking, no one's going to read this. I'm going to send this and no one's going to read it. I'm going to send the originals. Who's going to read that? Who's going to read a story like this? There was one Brazilian person in the jury, in the panel of jury, but it was 7 people in the panel. And I think there are considerable differences in our language. The Portuguese that you speak and write in Portugal is a little bit different of the Portuguese we read and write in Brazil. But I decided to send the book anyway. I had no expectations whatsoever. And when I received Manuel Alegre's phone call months later, I wasn't even expecting it anymore. When he called me, I took the phone, and he's a very formal person. He has a deep voice. And he said, "You won, your book won the award. In half an hour, we're going to hold a press conference, and I need you to send me your a CV of yours per email because we want to introduce you." Because my book was competing, we compete, right, Gabriela, with fake names, pseudonyms. They don't know who wrote the books. The readers and the panel of jury, they don't know who wrote the books. They only know who the writer is, who the author is, after they decide on the winner. That's when they open an envelope. And to me, it was very important, because from that point on, I had a publisher, and then it's an important publishing house in Brazil, one of the major publishing houses in Portugal. And the attention received by the book, Brazil gave an attention for this book because of this award. It's an award that a Brazilian author hadn't won in a while, so it was an excellent beginning for Crooked Plow. Whenever I have received invitations to be in Portugal, I go. And just 2 weeks ago, I went to Portugal and I brought some copies of the third Portuguese edition, because from 2019 until today, this is now the third reprint of the book that we have in Portugal.